What is happening, everybody? This is Podcast Unlocked, episode 188. A couple of familiar and semi-new faces this
You're
week.
Jeff, right?
No,
Oh.
it's me. It's Sean.
Oh, hi, Sean.
How's it going?
We work near each other. I'm
It's
Max
true.
Scoville.
I usually sit.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to see you as well.
That's
How's
what
it
we do
going?
on this show. We
Yeah.
just make
Make
we
introductions.
bridge gaps.
I'm so bad with names. It's incredible. One of our guys, Mike, who works on the YouTube team, we had that indie mixer during GDC.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of hanging out by our desks and sort of having beers and chit-chatting and stuff. And I don't know if he put on a different shirt or something, but I went up and introduced myself to him, and he just looked at me like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, everyone was like, "He works like 20 feet from you." And I was like, he wore a different shirt. The lights were. He had a beer. He never has a beer during the day.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, and the inside of my head just turns to screams, and I stay up at night and just can't
So, yes, that gentleman is the mighty Max Scoville.
I don't know why you let me come on here to say things.
Because I like you.
Well,
and that's
you're
really
very sweet.
It's the only bar you got to meet on
Aw.
the show. I just have to like
Aw.
you. Because there are so many people I don't like.
That's right. That is really nice that you like me. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, you're a nice guy. What
Well,
can
thanks.
I say? It's you let me on your Comedy Button podcast once.
Yeah,
That was super
that was
nice.
awesome.
Figure
Talked
I can only
about-
return the favor.
We talked about a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cars and Calvin and Hobbes and
What are we talking about today?
today, so much to get to.
I know,
Besides,
right?
there's the thing no one cares about, which is that I was sick over the weekend. That was a blast. But I'm
I
back.
care, Ryan. I
And
care.
Marty's out sick.
Yeah.
I think from him and I cuddling a lot.
He's got
that's probably
that
where he-
bloodborne disease.
like us, like so many this
Yeah.
week. So many people. Sean Finnegan, are you well? Are you doing all right?
Yeah, besides being under some really tight and stressful deadlines, I am fine health-wise. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that. I was up in frigid Montreal, Quebec, Canada last week.
Oh man.
Which may have been where I got sick, or it could have been the plane, but then everyone here has been sick, so
Yeah.
I basically was just assaulted from all angles.
Yeah, Montreal in the winter is not. I mean, I guess it's really spring,
It was
but
mid-March,
Yeah.
and snow was piled to your waist.
Oof.
I was just like, what is that? It was 14 degrees.
This office is really kind of a petri dish because you get people flying out to
Oh,
different
I know.
conventions and getting on airplanes during
Oh,
cold
yeah.
season and going to like Poland and Montreal and
and then
just
we
all
all
over the
sit
place.
like
and
right next to each
and it's
other.
so-
and,
yeah,
like,
there's
this
no
open
offices
floor.
and-
Yeah.
You would think we'd all be like doctors by now and have like super-powered immune systems.
yeah, I think we're just shy of that.
Yeah, we're on the cusp.
Yeah.
Next flu season, we're all going to be in good
Hopefully, yeah.
shape. But so look for. I've got a ton of new Rainbow Six Siege content. That's what I was up there to do.
Nice.
Look for that to drop on Monday morning. So that's going to be interesting for you all to look at. The other quick thing, I think both of you might have. I don't know if either one of you were involved in this, but did you guys see it takes a lot at this point. I know this sounds kind of like egotistical of me to say, but it kind of takes a lot to impress me with the pack-in toys on collector's editions for games now. We see them all, and a lot of them are just like, oh, okay, that's a phone
And are you
statue.
talking about the Borderlands one?
I am absolutely talking about the
The-
radio-controlled claptrap with the voice
Wow.
synthesizer.
I haven't seen the actual device yet, but numerous people have pulled me aside to talk about it, and I will say that I think that that 2K is really like they're one of the only game companies that's really on point with merchandising and in the physical sense.
Yeah.
Like you'll get the collector's editions with the statues and stuff, but they're the only ones who, in addition to that, also have action figures. Like the Borderlands toys from NECA are fantastic.
Right.
There's some cool statues and stuff. They've got new Evolve action figures coming out.
They did remember the WWE 2K15 collector's edition, the super one that had a literal chunk of match-used canvas signed by Hulk Hogan.
Wow.
Like they did that last year.
How many do you think they made of those
I
before
think- I
they
forget. I
ran
think it
out
was-
of the canvas?
I want to say it was either 1,000 or 10,000.
That's nuts.
I don't remember, but he signed them all.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's always cool when you get like an actual like a cool little
Yeah.
gizmo. Like
And
there was
this-
that Titanfall one. There was the
Yes.
Saints Row dubstep gun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But man, this RC claptrap. I was on my way to the bathroom, and they were shooting.
Oh, right.
The guys were shooting
An unboxing.
the unboxing, and I'm walking by, and I sort of saw it at the corner of my eye, so I just go by. I'm gone, and it was like a cartoon. I just stopped. I was like, "Err!" and then like craned my
Backed
neck
up,
back,
yeah.
and I completely did. It literally stopped me in my tracks, and Vince was over. There's a smartphone app that goes with it.
Wow, that's nuts.
He was in another room where he could see us through glass, and he starts talking to me through, and it has a synthesizer on it, so it kind of sounds like Claptrap.
That's so amazing.
It's so cool. Like
that's insane.
I was duly impressed by this thing.
I can understand like a little remote control, but like a full-on app.
Yeah,
that's
and
cool.
It was it was a good size. It was probably a foot tall, maybe bigger, maybe even foot and a half.
Yeah, I would say maybe 18 inches
18?
or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it looks pretty tall. It's like this tall.
Yeah, it was. So I heard that they're all sold out.
I'm
like
sure
it was
they
a super
are.
limited thing.
Yeah.
And, but boy, so yeah, if you get one or if your buddy does, make sure to. Like I suggested we go down the streets of San Francisco and troll people with it, like hit on girls with it, and all kinds of stuff.
Oh man.
I'll bet
any video where IGN people go hit on women.
Hashtag
is,
one reason why.
Yeah, the worst video or the best.
Or
video.
hit on guys.
Well, both.
That
well,
works.
we've sent. We had a lot of ideas with Alfredo. Like Pokemon pickup lines was a video we always wanted to do. Never got around to it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm super down for nice collectibles in collector's editions because I was burned by the one and only Halo 3 helmet edition.
The one that was
helmet.
it would only fit a cat. I was gonna say.
Yeah, I bought it thinking like I'm gonna wear this because that's what cool guys in college do, wear Halo helmets. And instead, it just sat on top of my fridge, and then I think I left it in my apartment.
Those always reminded me of those little
moved.
tiny baseball helmets that they give out. At, they put ice cream in them, and you're just like, oh great, this is cool.
What am I gonna do with this? Yeah.
See, I love the one of my favorite collector's editions is the Max Payne 3 one that had that cool sort of statue of Max Payne walking with a gun, doing his gun thing. But the thing that I don't think they really anticipated is they used I think they used PVC to make it. It wasn't like a polystone or like a hard plastic or anything, and it melted sort of. He gradually just became more and more sideways. So we had it up in my old office at Rev 3 Games, and it was sitting up on this kind of shelf type thing, and in the year and some change that we had it up there, he gradually went from being like walking tall, looking real tough, to walking at exactly like a 45-degree angle.
Was he like in the sun or just like through regular wear
I honestly
and
think
tear?
it was just kind of regular wear and tear. It might have been a little bit of sunlight, but it wasn't like he wasn't melting on a dashboard. It was just like in an office. But I kind of like it because it really fits the character, who's like drunk and whacked out on painkillers and in bullet time anyway. So I just like to think that maybe it's
it was by design.
It's meta commentary because throughout the course of the game, Max Payne's sort of melts as a human being, right?
I mean, it'd be cool if they made it so his hair melted off or something, and he just. Yeah, I don't know. I like that though.
Oh man.
But really, could have been a better made collectible.
Yeah, just regular melting, just sitting on a shelf. That's not what I want.
So yeah, check out the Borderlands Claptrap unboxing video on IGN if you haven't seen it already. I'm sure it's probably on the Xbox One app somewhere too. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can track it down. And then the only other thing I wanted to comment on before we get going is the Sling app launched on Xbox One.
Right.
I don't know if you guys are like me. I cut the cord on cable satellite a while ago, and so I just kind of pick up shows here and there online.
Yeah, kind of the same way.
Sling seems pretty good so far.
Yeah.
I've watched it a little bit, and it's $20 a month for a handful of useful channels. You can get sort of $5 add-on packs for sports and news.
Yeah,
but those add-on channels were things I'd barely even heard of. But this the $20 gets you ESPN, AMC, TNT, TBS. And in fact, last night I was like, there's a basketball game on TNT. Let's see if it's blacked out because it's like it's not actual TNT.
Right.
Nope. Game was on.
That's really
awesome.
cool. That's
I thought
fantastic.
And the quality was acceptable. On
I was
going to
say like I cut the cord a long time ago too. Like maybe right after college, I would say, so 5 or 6 years ago now. And one of the things I really miss about it is sports. Like I used to watch a ton of NBA and a ton of like MLS and EPL, like soccer, and that like now I don't watch any sports at all just because I don't want to have to go out to a bar or to like a sports bar or something to watch it. Like I'm just not like that. I'm lazy.
Yeah.
So if $20 seems a little steep for a monthly thing, but if it gets me all of the stuff that I want to see in terms of sports, I'm actually quite for that. That's really cool.
That's cool. Yeah. One thing that I miss about TV, and like I've never been into sports, but I've realized this as I've gotten older, is that like having TV that's live and on a schedule, it kind of motivates you to actually get your stuff done. You know, like it's having a structure in place, and it's I used to be like,
see that.
I want to do this, and you kind of just are more aware of your use of time. And with this kind of on-demand culture we have, and the fact that you can be like, I could watch 9 seasons of something in one sitting, and like, you know, Netflix would be like, are you alive? Are you still breathing?
Press X if you're still alive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, literally, it's like, can you show some sign of life? Contractually, we're obligated to make sure you didn't just die and your cats are eating your eyelids and the neighbors are banging on the door because there's a smell. But like, I miss that kind of that structure and also the fact that you don't have to think about it. You know, there's so much of that kind of like aimless video store wandering around that we get on demand stuff where it's like, I don't want anything. I'm feeling fussy. It's like opening the fridge and being like, is there anything I want to eat? But like you turn on the TV and something's on. It's like hearing a song on the radio. You know, somebody else picked out. They're like, here's the thing we're doing right now. I was in like a bar and they were showing the Matrix Revolutions and the Dark Knight Rises back to back, and I'm like, all right, disappointing third movies. This is great.
That's why I like Pandora versus
completely.
Spotify. By the way, like, no, I have no problem with Spotify, but I like that Pandora sort of curates things for me, and you know, it's that surprise factor of what song that it thinks I'm gonna like. Is it going to put on?
And occasionally, it's really tedious, but other times it's the flip side of that is that you're really satisfied when something good comes on. You're like, oh yeah, I love this song, and you're like, I could buy this song immediately, but I didn't.
It's the surprise factor. That's what it is. Being given something you're not quite expecting.
So the Sling thing, I just figured I'd mention it because it is a sort of a big deal on as a new app.
It's a hell of a deal compared to PlayStation's offering, which is rolling out gradually. The PlayStation View is like $50 a month, and it's only some things are on. Yeah, it's really it feels very beta, but with like a full price tag, and so $20 a month with something that doesn't have blackout stuff.
I did see it does say on there every Xbox Live Gold member gets a 1-month free trial to it. So
nice.
give it a try.
So definitely try it.
That's a hot deal. Yeah.
All right. For once, big news broke just before we came on the air instead of just after, which is what usually happens. Halo Online that you'll never get to play. So we'll talk about that in a bit. A lot of big news this week. We'll kick it off. One reason Max is here is to discuss some big Metal Gear news, Kojima news you may have already heard about. We'll be right back. All right, let's talk Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
This is
Metal Gear.
This is a very, very interesting story to me. This broke, of course, just after last week's podcast. So it's karmic trade-off. We got this Halo thing that just broke we're going to talk about, but we just missed all this Kojima stuff. So if you missed it, GameSpot, credit to them. They dug this up. Source confirmed to GameSpot. So I guess we can't officially say this is real because it's not like
nothing's official
announced.
here. Yeah, this is all very big speculation.
For the purposes of this conversation, we're going to go ahead and go with the premise that it's real. But just the caveat is it's not officially real. So according to GameSpot source, Hideo Kojima and his team are out at Konami after Metal Gear Solid 5 amid some serious headbutting with management at Konami. Now, Max, you're a big Metal Gear guy.
Yes.
I'm very curious to hear what you think. I have some distinct opinions on this as someone who's just indifferent to Metal Gear. I don't dislike it. I don't like it. But yeah, you talk to me.
First things first. I think it's really worth pointing out something that's kind of just not really addressed directly in the States, and that's the fact that Konami does a lot of other stuff besides video games in Japan. They make exercise equipment, they make bottled water, they make karaoke machines, they make like pachinko machines, and I mean they make bottled water. Like that's weird to me.
That's pretty
Over
weird.
Here they make video games. That's it. You know, they might make a few that are like, you know, kind of bigger hits, but it's over there it's much more of like I mean there's not even a corresponding company that I can think of.
We only know Konami as a video game company.
Precisely. So in that sense, it can seem a little bit baffling that, like, why would they do that? That's their big thing. And the thing is, Kojima spends a lot of money on his games. He puts a lot of money in his games, and he takes a long time to make his games. And they're not accessible, really. They're difficult games to get into. And Kojima's also very much an auteur. Like, he wants to be pushing the medium so much further, but, you know, on the scale he does that costs a ton of money.
Yeah.
I think it's... I'm really curious to see what the Phantom Pain is like, because I think that it could be... I think it's going to be technically incredibly sound, but it could be an absolute, complete clusterfunk of a thing. Pardon my French.
Hold on, I'm going to hit the beeper on you here. Hit the button.
But yeah, I mean, it's Metal Gear Solid is like it's a 25-year, like, sprawling epic of intertwining plot twists and stuff that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And Kojima's really, really committed to it, in spite of the fact that he's always been like, "This is my last Metal Gear game. This is my last Metal Gear game." He's been saying that since 2.
That's true.
2 ended on a cliffhanger, and he didn't really want to address it. And then he did 3, which was sort of a weird prequel, but it seemed almost like it wanted to be its own game. And then 4 was trying to tie up the loose ends of 2, and it didn't really do that. And then Peace Walker was a game that a lot of people really liked. And,
so do you think that with kind of this kerfluffle happening and him... We released a video on IGN like at the beginning of last month or earlier this month where he was like, Metal Gear Solid 5 is definitely my last Metal Gear game, at least for me. The franchise may continue and stuff. He said that before, is just your point, but like, do you think it's any more or less solidified now that there's kind of like this anticipation of him being out?
The kind of haunting realization is that this doesn't seem far-fetched in one bit.
Like here's the other thing is like, do you think... Let's say he still does want to make Metal Gear in the future. Can he do a Metal Gear game elsewhere?
No, Konami owns it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you, Max. I actually think that if he wants to go make video games, and this is nothing. I don't know him personally. I've never met him.
Yeah.
But just based on what you're saying, which I agree with, about his games have become more and more insular as time has gone on. You know, they're not. You can't jump into Metal Gear 4 and have any clue what's going on.
I jumped into Ground Zeroes and I didn't know what was going on because I didn't play Peace Walker because that's like I didn't play the Vita installation, or the PSP version.
And the fact that his games, have taken longer and longer every time, costing more and more money every time. I think he's going to have a hard time finding a studio to give him money to bankroll something after this than you might initially assume. Because, if I'm, let's say, just for the sake of this podcast, Microsoft. I'm like, oh, man, Hideo Kojima's a free agent. I'm Phil Spencer. Should I pick up the phone immediately? Like, well, wait a minute. I mean, this guy's going to maybe get me some PR, but his record says it's going to cost me $100 million to make his game, and it's maybe going to sell me, a few million units.
Right.
That's a tougher sell, I think. I mean, I looked it up to back you up here, Max. Metal Gear 2 was the peak of the series sales-wise, 7 million units. That's excellent, especially back in 2001, 2002 or so.
And that was a PlayStation exclusive at the time.
Yeah, PlayStation 2. And but let's see, their fiscal sales were down. The company, Konami, was down 37% last fiscal year. And Metal Gear, so
37%.
we went from 7 million with Metal
That's
Gear
crazy.
2 to 3.6 million. So about half of that for Metal Gear Solid 3, same console, PS2. Twin Snakes, which was
That was a GameCube exclusive that was retelling the first Metal Gear Solid, but that was actually developed by Silicon Knights. That was kind of a separate thing. So that was
before Silicon Knights really fell onto some hard times. That game bombed, did a million. Metal Gear Solid 4, which is, of course, PlayStation 3.
Right.
That was the last big hurrah for the series since, we got 5 coming up. But 4.3 million sold. So not bad, but a far cry from
Also, that
peak.
game, I've heard some weird kind of rumors about what went into that game, and that there was a lot of kind of just Kojima really kind of throwing his weight around in terms of what he wanted to make happen, and the fact that, the length that game was in development was kind of staggering.
It was hold on, I have it written here. I believe it was almost 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow. I believe. I thought I had it. I'm pretty sure it was about 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was real. I think they were really just getting under the hood of the PS3 and being like, let's see how much we can do with that. Because, yeah.
I mean, and I wonder if Konami will, because you got to wonder, like, Konami, Kojima's the only superstar they have. They've let Castlevania go. Silent Hill is a B-tier franchise. I know they announced Silent Hills, which, by the way, that game's probably, if you ask me, doomed. Kojima was supposed to be working on that game.
Right. Kojima and Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. By the way, who's more snake-bitten in the video game world than Guillermo del Toro? He hooks up with THQ and Volition on the Insane trilogy, which never gets off the ground because THQ goes under.
I mean, I think that he hooks up with people who throw Hollywood amounts of money at him.
Yeah.
And say that, you can do that, and then that's not exactly sustainable.
It's not reality. But then, so you've got, and then they bought Hudson, but they haven't done anything with, say, Bomberman or some of the other great Hudson IPs. I wonder if Konami will, in the next few years, fade out of the video game
That
business.
would not surprise me one bit, because I mean, I think that I think that it's sort of like they're almost like they've got executives who are in other areas of commerce. They make different things. Maybe in video games are a thing that people don't really understand in terms of how they operate business wise. Like there's no exact science yet. It's always kind of like, let's try to do Call of Duty, try to do Minecraft. There's always that kind of trying to be something else. And even the coolest idea can be a total flop, or it's entertainment crossed with software.
Right.
That's a mess right there. I wonder if Kojima's just sort of like the kid with the babysitter, and he's like, yeah, mom always lets me stay up till midnight. They're like, really? Are you sure? And it's like, yeah, everyone else does it. For real, it's okay. And it's like, you're going to spend 7 years developing this console exclusive that's about an old man smoking cigars? Like,
old man, look at my life.
And I mean, I know that one thing that happened was everyone got really mad because Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain, Metal Gear Solid 5 was broken into 2 pieces.
Yes.
And everyone got really mad about that. And
$20 demo.
Kojima was sort of like, well, it's a prologue, and it's kind of part of the game, and so much backpedaling happened there.
Yeah.
Basically, they cut the price. That was originally going to be like a $30 or $40 game. They cut the price after the backlash, and then they were like, oh, it's part of the plan initially. And I remember Kojima chimed in and was like, actually, no, it wasn't. That was their idea. That was not a thing I wanted to do. And I mean, I think they were trying to break even, or trying to like kind of
mitigate the cost.
I mean, the reality is like the fact that video games are locked at $60 is kind of impressive that we managed to maintain that, because it's like sometimes you have something that's an absolute turd for $60, and other times you have something that should be, if they're actually trying to get their money back, this is something that should cost $150.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know,
but yeah, I mean. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion, but yeah, I think Kojima will have a short list of suitors. Somebody's gonna.
He's also one of the biggest names in video games, and he could always do crowdfunding. That could be a horrible disaster. I'm not saying it's going to work out, but you could say Hideo Kojima launches a Kickstarter.
But if he raises $20 million, what is that going to last? That's like 3 months of development time for him.
I don't
What's
think
he going to make?
He'll make a really cool loading screen.
I think you could make, or Kojima could, like Kickstarter or crowdfund something, just because, like you pointed out, he's like a luminary, a visionary in this industry, and he has a huge, maybe not huge, but a very loyal and sizable, dedicated fan base who would support him. And I've been very dismissive of Kickstarters in the past. Like, I don't think. I'm kind of ambivalent to famous or successful people who could get behind closed doors meetings with suits kickstarting things, but like it's proven successful for a lot of people, like in other industries. Like we just saw the Con Men one with Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk. Like Spike Lee's done them, but you certainly wouldn't be able to ask for $20 million. I wasn't paying attention
to that. I thought that I kept seeing people referring to the Con Men, and I was like, people are really mad that they're kickstarting this. They're calling them Con Men.
Oh yeah, that's just the title.
Well, I'm dumb. I should click things.
Their tagline is Con Men because it sounds cooler than Convention Men. Which is kind of like the premise of the show. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even if
$20 is a huge price tag for a Kickstarter, and that would, like you pointed out, that would cost. That would be the cost of the titles.
The other big thing that we haven't talked about is the Fox engine, which is the engine that Kojima spearheaded to build. He's like, we need to be making modern games. Here's what we need. Here's a modern engine. Yeah.
Let's say Konami's property now. I would
exactly.
assume.
Let's say they start licensing that out and farming it out, like Unreal or whatever else Source. That could make them a ton of money. I mean, it could be that
Japanese. I feel like. I don't think Japanese engine licensing has really been much of a thing.
It hasn't. And I think that Kojima's been extremely, he's been very open to the West. He's kind of a weird, inverse otaku. He's like a Japanese dude who's obsessed with American culture.
Well, it's the other guy who
That's
was...
such a good description of him.
What's his name was super successful with that... Kenji Inafune had a lot of success at Capcom with that sort of... fusion of East and West.
Yeah. The other thing is, I mean, we're talking about would crowdfunding work? Would it would going to an actual investor work? I mean, let's say that Kojima goes around and knocks on the side door of somebody like Notch or Gabe Newell, who's like somebody else who's kind of out there and kind of gets it. But I don't know. I'm sure as hell I'm curious about a few things right now. I'm curious, what happens with the Metal Gear franchise. I'm curious about how Metal Gear Solid 5 is. I want to play it. It looks cool.
Yeah.
And what happens next?
And I know there will probably be people that the game Metal Gear 5 will come out. It'll sell maybe a few million copies, and people will be like, "See, Ryan, it did great." But the problem is, then you're in a BioShock Infinite situation where BioShock Infinite sold huge, but its development budget was so enormous, the studio had to contract itself basically and fold down to effectively close itself. So I wonder if he just kind of got too far off the leash at some point, and Konami finally went, okay, this is just, we can't do this anymore. We gotta part ways here.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, time will tell. Metal Gear 5 will come out. It will be a Kojima game, but then they will apparently be going their separate ways if this GameSpot report is to be believed, which sure seems like that is the case from everything we've been reading.
Cheapers.
So, moving on. Let's actually get to... Do you need to get going, my friend?
I need to get going, yeah.
All right, we got to say goodbye to Max Scoville.
Goodbye, everybody.
Max Scoville.
Love you, Max
Thanks for
Scoville.
having me, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead now.
All right.
We'll just keep rolling.
Get out of here. All right.
Get on out of here, boy. All right. Let's talk a little Halo, Sean. Now that now that Max is gone, and it's just me and you.
The Halos will play.
So this story is so fresh, it didn't even make it onto my show planner here. It's on my computer in front of me, which I try not to have on during the show because it's distracting. Halo Online has been announced, a free-to-play online shooter for PC.
But there's a catch.
There's a catch.
Yeah.
It's only coming out in Russia. It's being made by Saber Interactive, which is the guys that have been doing the anniversary remakes for Halo 1 and Halo 2. So they're going to be, here we go. Halo Online will launch this spring only in Russia. It's designed to run well on lower-end PCs. There's no campaign mode, but the game is set on a secret UNSC space station called Anvil, where Spartans train together and test new technology, which basically sounds exactly like the fictional justification for Halo 4's multiplayer with aboard the Infinity. Yes.
Yeah. This is super weird.
During the upcoming closed beta, the developers will monitor and adjust gameplay features and the in-game economy. There are no plans to bring Halo Online to the Xbox One. What the hell, Sean Finnegan?
Honestly, I have no idea. This comes so out of left field and is so unlike Microsoft or the Halo franchise, right? Like, most of the time it's been about super high polish, like AAA budget and construction games for mass audiences that are like built into that first-person DNA.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, like a first-person shooter that's PC. Like, people have been wanting Halo PC forever. That kind of makes sense. But why Russia? And why free-to-play? And why Russia? I need your sort of expertise
in communist
on this.
Russia, Halo plays you.
Exactly.
Just a few more basic details. It runs on a modified Halo 3 engine, hence the lower-end PC spec.
Right.
So our people were there. IGN Russia was there. So this is a real... I'm not kidding, and I know Phil's probably going to chuckle when he hears this driving in the car. When our guys told me about this, like, oh, our European people are saying that they're at an event where Halo Online's being announced, I said, I literally don't believe you.
Yeah.
I literally do not believe you.
Pix or it didn't happen.
That does not sound like something Microsoft would do, right? With Halo. So it's modified Halo 3 engine. It will include classic weapons and vehicles, fan favorite maps, and new ones, one of which includes a Russian town. Takes place right after the events of Halo 3, and of course optimized for keyboard and mouse controls. 4 to 16 players. And again, as I told you, Saber Interactive. It'll be published and operated by Innova Systems, a Moscow-based company that operates well-known MMOs in Russia, including Lineage 2 and APB Reloaded, which were the two I've heard of.
So there may be some strategy to this, now that I'm thinking about it more in depth.
But why Russia, Sean?
Well, so that's the thing, is like, if the Russian territory actually has been known to really love MMO and like free-to-play type shooters. Like World of Tanks is a huge thing out there.
Yes.
Like basically every Russian in the world plays World of Tanks, and it has an incredibly loyal, successful, and rabid fan base that doesn't really extend to like the US or other parts of European markets or Japan or the Asian markets. Like that game doesn't really, no one really plays that game here or in like those markets. But So maybe I'm thinking like this is a localized test, right? Like they put it in Russia, they see like does this have legs? Can this grow? Like do people like it in a market where they're kind of like inclined to like those types of games? Yeah. And if it's successful, maybe they do bring it worldwide, or they do not make it just a single country. What do you think there? Is that
That's
speculation?
Probably fair to say, because otherwise, like, yeah, I don't see how this helps the Halo brand.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
see how this really makes them a ton of money. It just is very, very odd all around.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, especially like some of the other parts make sense to me. I mean, it makes sense to double down on your big franchises, right? Like you have Halo, you have Minecraft. It makes sense to make those as accessible as possible.
Right.
But in the past, they've been really, they've kept the Halo license very closely guarded, right? Like
very true.
They want full creative control. They don't want anyone else not handling it that isn't like in the mainframe of Microsoft. Mm-hmm. They haven't been able to strike up deals with creatives on the outside of it. Like they want to do their own web series and films, like internally with them in control instead of the studios. It just seems strange that they would let this off to Russia or to like any localized sort of part of the world. But I guess like, yeah, if you, with some speculation, I guess it could fit in there, you know?
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
First of all, I do agree with you. I think the Russian market's a test bed because like Call of Duty Online is a thing that exists, a free-to-play shooter in China.
Yeah.
And that's because the Chinese game market, which is obviously enormous given 2 billion people, free-to-play is sort of the baseline standard there. So I guess just the Russia thing surprised me because I would have expected maybe a China over, as opposed. But I agree with you. I think this is a test bed. We'll see where it goes. But the big question I have for you as a fellow Halo fan is, if this were available in the United States, would you care? Would you play it based on just these initial details?
As the world's biggest Halo fanboy, I would say yes. Like, I would give it a try.
Yeah.
Honestly, nowadays a shooter has to do a lot to pull me away from Counter-Strike, because whenever I'm playing it, I'm like, why, I could just be playing Counter-Strike, right? But if they gave me something Counter-Strike-esque, which Counter-Strike is, it's not free to play because you have to buy it, but it has free to play like mechanisms now. Mm-hmm. The game's evolved a lot since it came out, like skins and stuff, or cosmetic things that you can change your gameplay, or that change your game experience but don't affect the gameplay. If Halo did something like that, I would love to play that. Like if the mechanics were good and it felt like Halo but it was on PC and it had sort of like skins and sort of customizability, I could see myself really getting into something like that.
I'm also surprised there's no mention in this announcement of all the Windows 10 stuff.
Oh.
Because that which hasn't launched, because the game is launching in the spring and the Windows 10 stuff won't be launching yet. So
right.
I wonder if that's a thing that's going to get folded in over time. But the good news is we have people over there. We have IGNs everywhere, which is we're lucky to have. So we will have a lot of coverage on this so that you can get to play it vicariously through us, I guess, and we'll be playing it vicariously through
the Russians.
Through our Russian people. But so stay tuned for more on Halo Online. A real thing. Of course, you remember years ago.
A real puzzling thing, yeah.
Years ago, Ensemble, the guys that did Halo Wars, but they also had a Halo MMO in the works that was canceled. There was some concept art that eventually made its way out of that. But so that was the online Halo for PC that we never got. This is what we are going to get. So it's a variant of Halo 3 with some familiar maps, with some new ones, 4 to 16 players.
Mouse and keyboard.
Free to play, mouse and keyboard online, but only in Russia. So stay tuned for IGN. Stay tuned to IGN for more on that. And that concludes our breaking news segment.
All right.
I like that.
Me too.
All right. Next up, Sean.
Yes.
Let's talk. I don't want to get into this too far because we've talked about this 7,000 times, but I want to remaster our remasters conversation.
Oh, great.
One last time.
Yes.
Hopefully for one last time. Because our latest, we have another IGN that we can thank for this. IGN Italy reporting that Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Arkham City are the next game getting the remaster treatment. They'll be out this holiday. And then on the non-Xbox side, we had Sony announce a God of War 3 remaster for PlayStation 4 this same week as well. So the remaster trend is not going anywhere soon. And I know, Sean, we've beaten all of our points on this to death.
Yeah.
But boy, it just does seem like, remember how we initially thought that this was just going to be a console transition thing?
Yeah.
Where publishers were, resurfacing some games that maybe didn't get a lot of love last gen, or testing the waters for new gen development. Totally. Well, those excuses are over.
Yeah,
it's not it's purely a cash grab now.
Yeah. I forget who it was. It may have been Marty or someone here in the office who said that video game developers and publishers have now found a way to monetize backwards compatibility. Yeah. It actually may have been you. And I think that's a really good way of looking at this, is like backwards compatibility for a long time in the PS3 and Xbox 360 generation was like kind of one of the those consoles did it. You could play Xbox games on Xbox 360.
Most of them.
Yeah, and same with PS3 until there was a shift in like the SKU.
Right.
That was something that was like built in as a feature that gamers expected and that publishers wanted to provide, but they realized at some point that they could provide that and still make a lot more money.
Cha-ching, baby.
Exactly. I don't know where this, I don't really have too much of an opinion on this. I played Arkham Asylum and loved it. I played Arkham City and loved it.
Likewise.
Definitely will not be picking up the remasters. I don't see there's any need for that. If I wanted to play those games again, I could just pop on my 360.
Yeah.
They looked great. They felt great. I don't need a remaster.
There are definitely arguments on both sides of this. I saw that a lot of people make a lot of good points on both sides on Twitter when I was commenting about this. We all, of course, have remasters that we would give in for and we would buy. I mean, not
Mass Effect.
Right. Mass Effect, maybe Gears Trilogy. I think Mass Effect's probably the number one.
That's the one, like, definitively for me. I would get that instantly.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people would. But ultimately, and my sort of point I made was, well, I'd rather see development talent applied to new ideas.
Totally 100% valid. I agree with you.
Some people counter and say, well, would those people have jobs, or because these tend to be port houses or sort of third-party contracted studios. Would those people be making new games if it weren't for these ports? I don't know the answer to that. But
that's kind of speculation, right? Like, it could be the chances of it being yes and the chances of being no are 100% equal. So I don't even think it's really worth speculating on. It's the industry, right? So it still comes down to like, do you want new things, or do you want old things with more polish? And that's just a preference thing for a lot of people. Or it depends on the game.
And it's, hey, selling more games is definitely healthy for the industry. But the thing is,
maybe not in the long run, right? Like that's kind of the thing, is like I see the remastered situation a lot, and I look at and I relate it to the way Hollywood works, which is like a lot of Hollywood's. So Hollywood releases about 110 films a year. Last year, 81 of them were sequels, reboots, or remakes.
Wow.
Which is a huge number.
Wow.
And the last thing I would want, and not that the games industry is doing this, in fact, I would say just the opposite, but this trend in the AAA game space does kind of seem to be pointing in that direction, and that's the last thing I would want to see for the AAA game space, is for it to become more risk-averse and more like, well, we have these IPs that we know did well. We can repackage them, polish them up a little bit more, and people will want to buy them, and have that encourage them in going, like, committing fully to that direction, and then seeing less, like, over time, less and less more interesting new AAA IPs.
Yeah,
That's what I worry about.
And I would say, whether or not people working on these would be working on new ideas if it weren't for the remasters, I will say, I can almost guarantee that game developers, game creators of all sorts, would definitely rather spend their time and energy working on new things than polishing up old things.
Totally.
That they didn't even necessarily make.
Totally.
I just think the trend, as I said last time, the trend is bothersome to me as a gamer. I get it from the business side. Believe me, if I were one of the executives at Ubisoft or wherever one of these publishers, I'm sure I would be doing the same thing. I would say, that's gonna low return, low risk, high reward. Let's do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the thing, is like, I'm of two minds on it, right? Like, as a producer, I would say, like, you have a built product, a product that is good. All it may need is like someone to jump in there and sand off a little bit of the rough parts, and then you can put it back out there, and it'll give you a ton of money. But it kind of, as the creative in me is like, well, I want to do something new. I would want you to do something new. And for the people working on those games, I'm sure they want to do something new.
Yeah. And the bottom line, ultimately, the market has spoken.
True.
People are buying these,
yeah.
so they will keep happening. So, I don't want us to sit here sound like we're just a couple of grumpy old men sitting here about it, but it's just an interesting trend to observe and to discuss and look at.
Imagine what this looks like in the future, like with, the next Xbox and PS5. Like, will we have remasters of Arkham Knight and like Evolve?
Probably at the beginning of the generation,
right?
Yeah,
like,
at least.
Imagine like 2 or 3 console generations down the line. Like, how much overlap is there going to be? Like,
what it tells
would that
me,
be weird? I think it would be weird.
Yeah, what it tells me with the aggressive price cuts on Microsoft's side, plus all these remasters, is, what this would do as a hardcore gamer who isn't really buying a lot of these remasters because I'm someone who plays them when they originally release on whatever console they originally release on.
Right.
It would give me pause when the next consoles do come out in 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it is, to say, gee, I don't know if I should buy this at launch. Maybe I should wait a year or two.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll catch a price drop. And gosh, a lot of the big games the first year or two are probably just going to be remasters of the stuff
Games
I already anyway.
have. Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of, I think, the takeaway from it for me and for a lot of our super hardcore listeners is, maybe the next console cycle, you stop and think for a minute, like, maybe I shouldn't be an early adopter anymore.
Definitely. If the trend continues, what if it's more? Like, what if that whole first 2 years, you only get one new exclusive?
Well, I don't think it'll quite be like that.
Oh, well, I'm exaggerating to illustrate a point, which is just like the trend seems to be going in that way, right? Like, if they commit to this, if they double down on this, then it sets a dangerous precedent where something like that may possibly happen in the future. Maybe not with PS5 or the next Xbox, but maybe a generation after that.
Yeah, it's possible. And in related Batman news, by the way, Arkham Knight, the proper next-gen Batman that we are very much looking forward to. God, did you see the new 7-minute gameplay video?
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. And I played it.
And
I played it at E3. Did you play it at E3?
Yes,
yeah,
I did.
like it's awesome. It's
so
super
good.
cool.
The game has been delayed slightly to
couple
June,
weeks, right?
Yeah, June 23rd. They had said June something. Now it's June 23rd. So
we've talked about like these week-long sort of delays in the past. Like, it's probably there's nothing significant can really be done in a couple of weeks, so it's probably just some bug fixing and like nothing major
right. They're
changing.
just they might have just fallen.
Nothing to really worry about.
No, exactly. They might have just fallen just a little behind and said, "Oh, okay, well, we don't want to have to cut out those 2 weeks of polish time in order to make our original ship date," and so they go to the publisher, WB Games, and they say, well, we want to ship a nice polished game. And, oh, sure, take a couple extra weeks, no problem. So hopefully Batman will ship nice and polished, and we don't have to wait for a day one patch that fixes half the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look for
I would
Batman.
like that a lot.
Look for Batman Arkham Knight on June 23rd. Alrighty. Moving right along, sort of actually relevant to the discussion we were just having, Sean.
Yeah.
Twitch's boss, CEO of Twitch, co-founder, Emmett Shear, thinks that Sony and Microsoft have to evolve their hardware quicker. And here's what he says, quote, "The problem is the 7-year upgrade life cycle doesn't work in the face of the 2-year upgrade cycles for every other hardware platform." This is in an interview with The Guardian. He says, "It's so intrinsically built into how consoles get manufactured and made and the full business model that I'd be surprised to see another generation of it being done this way," he means. He's saying that the future needs to be more like set-top boxes and smartphones and tablets where, quote, "they're going to have to change form. You can already see this on both Xbox and PlayStation where there's a tighter upgrade loop for both the operating system and the games. This is the first step toward being able to iterate the hardware platform. I could imagine a version 1.1 product from both Microsoft and Sony, which adds in slightly more speed and slightly more memory, very similar to how phones and tablets work today. I think it's going to look look more like the mobile phone market over time." Do you agree with him?
There's a lot to unpack there. I'm going to go ahead and say, overall, yes. I do think Microsoft and Sony have to figure out a way to get more out of the consoles over time, right?
Yeah.
I read a really interesting something. I can't remember if it was an article or if it was something just someone said, but someone pointed out that when Steve Jobs first stood on the Apple stage and swiped his finger across the screen of the iPhone, and everyone was blown away. That wasn't that long ago. No. That was only 7 years ago. That was true. That was 2007.
Well, 8 years ago now.
8 years ago, yes. So that's not actually that long ago, right? And to think that one piece of hardware, and just think about how much the iPhone has changed since then. To think that we can expect a console or any real piece of tech in this digital landscape to live that long without being changed, like in any significant way, both from a hardware perspective and a software perspective, that's kind of outrageous. Like, I think I was of the mindset, and I'm not an engineer or anything like that, but even when the consoles came out and the specs were announced for Xbox One and PS4, I was a little bit wary about what those consoles would be like in terms of their power and capability 3 or 4 years down the line. Never, furthermore, the 10-year lifespan that they promised for PS4, or the 7 to 9 or whatever that they expected for Xbox One. Whether or not that means adjusting to a more mobile-like market, I don't know. That's the part where I'm not exactly sure what he means. You really have to unpack that and kind of get down to brass tacks about the details. Yeah. But certainly some upgrades, some way of evolving the consoles over time.
Yeah,
definitely something
needed. I think the answer lies somewhere between what he proposes and what we currently have. Mm-hmm. He's not wrong in the sense of, is this console generation, the last console generation was the longest one ever.
Yes.
So the question, in coming into this one, I don't know if I certainly assumed coming into this, it would be the similar thing. Like, it's going to be an 8-year life cycle. The Sony, Microsoft are going to try and milk every ounce they can out of the box. But it is true that the mobile market, the iPhones, the Androids, keep advancing at such a rapid rate, and they're not going to replace consoles anytime soon. Certainly not while they don't have physical controllers. But it does. I hope it actually does force the gaming consoles to evolve a little quicker. I wonder if we'll see a 4 or 5 year life cycle, and then the next Xbox and the next PlayStation in 3 or 4 years from now end up being not orders of magnitude more powerful, but more of an incremental step in power. And then they'll continue to pull the monetized backwards compatibility garbage on us and continue to evolve the games into services and subscriptions, so that yes,
so it's more Steam-like, actually.
Right. Yes, we're gonna have a new, the Xbox 1.5 in 2018,
or something like that.
Holiday 2018. But it's okay. All your old games are gonna work provided you maintain an Xbox Live Gold account with us. So, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
And then they can try and sort of stay ahead of the curve a little bit better than...
I think that would allow them to. Again, you'd have to kind of work out how that works best. You'd have to figure out a strategy that also benefits gamers, because I'm not exactly sold on the whole idea of... monetizing backwards compatibility and making that like your focal point
at this point.
No, but making that your focal point of the business and then doing iterative upgrades, like that's not exactly what I would want from a console. Because the other thing you got to look at is where these consoles actually fit in the market of gaming. Like the consoles, like we harped on the Xbox a little bit for being expensive at its launch, and it's now seen a price cut. But if you were to compare it to the MSRP of just a regular iPhone without a subscription, a 2-year plan, that's like a $600 or in some cases $700 piece of tech.
True. Yes.
So you can't really take a look at the mobile market, at least in my mind. You can't really look at the mobile market and say like, well, this is what consoles need to do, because they're not the same type of device. Like the console market does appeal to a different consumer base, one that's more games oriented, and I would argue less tech oriented, although in every comment section it's 1080p, 60 FPS, 4K. Like, why can't these consoles do that? Well, they're not the same devices. But I do like, if you what you can learn from the mobile market is how they've made iteration and sort of new implementations of technology and services part of something that the consumer base expects. Like, we don't get a new iPhone every year because we need it. or because it's doing something significantly different than the
just
last
want
one.
it.
They've conditioned people to want it.
That's right.
And I think that is the key to kind of keeping consoles relevant in gaming. And that's not to say that they're not relevant. Like, that was one of the big problems I had with this quote was like, he said something about how it's so intrinsically built into how the consoles get manufactured and made that the full business model that I'd be surprised to see another generation built like that. I mean, the numbers speak in favor of the consoles here. They're selling faster than they ever have before.
That's right.
So I don't think that it's going away or that it's in any danger, but I do think it needs to evolve a little bit for sure.
Yeah. Well, time will tell. Mark this episode down. Episode 188. Come back in 4 years and see if if we were anywhere close to correct.
Let us know who owes who the In-N-Out Burger.
That's right. Alrighty here.
That's an interesting one, yeah.
Real quick, Conker, our buddy.
Our old buddy.
He was announced at E3 as coming back in the form of a Project Spark mod thing module. And it's out October 23rd within Project Spark. And I'm very curious about this. I watched the trailer. It looks super Conker-y, which looks great.
That's awesome.
But
it's in Spark.
I still have no interest in I just don't make me go through Project Spark to get it.
Yeah, I first saw Spark. I think it was at E3. They showed a demo of it.
The year before though, 2013,
yeah.
before the system launched.
Yeah, I think I saw it at the Microsoft showcase.
Yeah,
and I just it looks cool, but I was like, what is this? And I still don't know what it is. That was 2 years ago. I still don't know what Project Spark is or why I should care about it.
I mean, and to be fair though, I don't want to. Project Spark is actually doing very well.
Mitch,
if Mitch were here, he reviewed it. He would tell you that it's really good.
It's a creation tool, right?
We can agree it has one of the worst names ever given to anything.
Yeah.
And it is a terrible name. You have no idea what the hell it's supposed to be. Phil knows that. He's listening. He knows. He knows where he's nodding his head in silent approval on that one. But the whole idea of trying to resurrect Conker this way, I still can't quite figure it out. I just think, I mean, to me, the only theory I could come up with, Sean, tell me if you agree or have another thought. I think they couldn't somebody wanted to do this, whether it was at Rare or within Microsoft, this being make a Conker comeback. I feel like that whoever this was couldn't get funding for a full, proper Conker, and so they convinced Phil to let them build something cheap in Project Spark, which also then promotes Project Spark, which is, two birds, one stone.
Right.
And I think Conker's future as a standalone game will somewhat be influenced, if not decided, by how this Project Spark thing does.
I think that's a pretty solid hypothesis. I wonder if that, there's this episode of The Office where Michael takes a big gamble on using the creative internally as opposed to an external creative agency.
Yeah.
And, he sends it off to his boss, and he goes, and thus Michael Scott sealed his fate in a good way. He realizes after that. I wonder if that's the thing. Is because, not a lot of people know, or at least speculation, me speculating, is that not a lot of people know or care about Project Spark in a way that would sufficiently influence the future of Conker. That's a pretty big gamble to be like, well, I want to do a Conker game, and I'm going to prove to you that people care by putting it in this other game that people don't care about. That's a gamble. But,
yeah,
I mean, if they really care and they believe in it, then sure, take it, right?
It'll be interesting to see. So we'll have a lot more on Conker for you as April 23rd near. That's
right around the corner.
Less than a month away?
Yeah.
What's today? Yeah, so it's almost a month to the day. So stay tuned for that.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else this week? Oh my gosh. Okay, real quick. More good Halo. We should have lumped this in with the other Halo news, but it was so late breaking, I didn't have time to rearrange the show.
That's okay.
Halo 5 will use dedicated servers for everything, including custom games.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Hooray.
Huzzah.
That's how it should be.
Excellent news. Loved it. There's nothing you can say that's negative about that, nor would we want to. We're not even digging for one. It's just, let's celebrate the good times. Denny's for everyone.
Denny's?
Denny's.
Oh, Denny's.
Denny's, too. We can go to Denny's if you want a little Grand Slam breakfast action.
I haven't been to Denny's in years.
I haven't either.
I went once and
you know why
had
I don't
a terrible experience, and my friend got thrown out, and the cops got called, and
Wow.
we've never been back.
Hold on. Back up.
Yeah.
Start over with the story. Go.
This was it must have been 4 or 5 years ago now. I was in college and I was back for Christmas, and when all of our friends come back to town, we have a great big party.
Sure.
And
because you only go to Denny's if you're drunk or hungover.
Oh yeah, we were
right?
all very drunk, and we have this one guy. I won't
feel
name
so
him.
bad for the people that work at Denny's. It's like their entire clientele is inebriated
all the time, and they're
all
obnoxious
the
and loud, and that's exactly what we were. It was a group of, must have been 8 or so guys, 7 or so girls, all coming from a party. We had this one guy in our group of friends who I won't name because all of my friends know who I'm talking about.
Go ahead, shame him now.
But he loves Denny's, more than anything in the world. He's always trying to get people to go to Denny's, and no one ever wants to go. He finally convinced us all to go. We go, and it just becomes just a mess. Like, people yelling, people throwing food at each other, just like all this stuff, and they tolerated us right up until the very end when they accidentally charged this guy, the one who was fighting to go to Denny's, who loves Denny's. He had specifically asked them to charge him in a way where he could pay with cash and then some on the card because he had some money to move.
Yeah.
Right? They put it all on his card, which would have caused him to overdraft, and he got furious, drunk furious. Like when you're angry and drunk, and then it becomes even more. Yeah. And that resulted in the manager being brought out, and he was giving the manager lip, and they were like kind of getting into each other, and then the cops got called, and then my friend, the biggest Denny's fan in the world, is the one who got banned for life.
Banned from Denny's.
And we've
All
never
Denny's?
been back. All Denny's.
How
that's
would
what he
they know?
said. That's what he said.
Yeah, they
the
can't.
manager.
It's not
I don't think
enforceable,
you can
right?
enforce that, but that's what he said. He's like, "You'll never step foot in another Denny's again." And we were like, "Okay, bye." And I never have. So
I'm gonna become an IHOP guy now.
it was one of those experiences that leaves such a bad taste in your mouth. You're just like, I'm never doing it anymore. So when you said Denny's, I was like, Denny's? Why would we go there?
Halo 5 will use Denny's servers.
Oh, that would be
Can
terrible
I take
and
your
tasteful.
order?
Yeah.
I'd like one custom game with no lag, please.
And a side of pancakes.
Coming right up. All right, so enjoy that. And then, did you see the bullet teaser? The Master Chief helmet getting blown up by a sniper round?
I did actually.
The bullet says traitor on it.
I couldn't see in the video, but I saw a screenshot of it that made it clear. Pretty cool stuff. Not much of a teaser. Not much to unpack there, other than that, like, they're really playing up this supposed, like, I guess not conflict or like rival type situation with Agent Locke and now Master Chief. Like, we kind of.
He's a fugitive now.
Yeah, like we know that the kind of premise
it wasn't
is that
me. It
he's
was the
tracking
one-armed
him
man.
down. The one-armed chief. Yeah, and these teasers are just kind of like playing up that in a way that
We're supposed to get another one later this week, well after the show airs.
Is this one going to be like now his body armor is exploding?
But real quick, yes or no? Does Master Chief die in Halo 5?
No. If they do, then I boycott Halo.
I agree.
Yeah.
No chance it happens.
That's not true. I mean, I probably wouldn't, but that would be.
I wouldn't either, but
that would be kind of a weird move. That's like.
I would be
you couldn't do that.
profoundly upset in a negative, not good way if Master Chief is killed off in Halo 5.
You can't. It's like Metal Gear without Snake, or like
343 is only just getting their feet wet with Halo.
Yeah.
I could see how from one side you might say, well, let's, transition out of the old Bungie era into a new era. Killing off Master Chief would be absolute franchise suicide. I don't see it happening.
Not even just franchise suicide, but like he is also just an iconic character in all of
the
video
Xbox.
games.
Well,
yeah, like he's the
and you're
face
right,
of a whole platform.
Absolutely.
Like, of a whole company, I would say.
Yeah.
Like Microsoft doesn't own, well, I guess you could make the argument that Minecraft is bigger because of its user base, but I would still say that Halo is a bigger and more recognizable franchise as a face.
Minecraft was the equivalent of the Yankees signing Reggie Jackson. Like, he had made his hay elsewhere, but then they brought him in, and he was a World Series hero.
Not a baseball guy.
I'm sorry. Whereas Halo is the homegrown prospect, the Derek Jeter in this
Spends
analogy.
His whole career with the one club.
Exactly. Came up from, they came up together, the Xbox and Master Chief. Yeah, no chance Master Chief gets killed. If they do, There will be riots in the streets. I will be at the front of the pitchfork and torch mob.
Sign and everything.
Be hell to pay for Microsoft. Microsoft is very much in a mode of not pissing off fans this generation because they've already pissed off so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to kill off Master Chief.
The only way I could even see that even being part of its future is they mentioned that this was going to be like a trilogy. Like if maybe at the very end of this trilogy it wraps up that story. Then I could maybe see there being artistic justification for that. Certainly not in this game. The story's not over yet. Like we're just now at a critical point with Chief.
And if he were to die at the end of 6 in 4 years from now, then the subsequent trilogy they would start up would just be a prequel trilogy with him in it again.
Yes.
Which would be the correct move.
And then we would just riot then instead of now.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just putting it off. Just putting off.
Don't
the
kill
inevitable.
Chief is
just
what
don't
happens.
Do it.
Yeah.
Keep Steve Downes employed.
Yes.
We love Steve. He's been on the show. Great guy.
We love Halo.
We
love
Halo.
Chief.
Love Master Chief. And I liked how much more personality he had to show in Halo 4.
Me too. And that was the other thing is like I think there's a lot more room to explore with Chief. We had this really cool sort of, reflective type emotional experience that we experienced through Cortana and how Chief kind of grew with her over that. Like I would want to see more of that. Like now he's, based on the trailers, he's off to save her in Halo 5 and deal with some other big threats. Like there's a lot more story to explore with that character and his sort of like involvement in the Halo universe that I would want to see pretty much exhausted before we take any chance at moving on from it.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, and finally, real quick, it's been a busy news
Lots
show
to talk
this
about,
week.
yeah.
Xbox One April system update preview for you preview members. We've got only a couple things, but Sean, I think these are very much of note.
Yeah.
The party chat improvements are all coming, that are rolling out, are all as a result of feedback from Xbox One owners, and I can get on board with both of these. The Party app will now help users enable microphones and will display issues preventing chat from working with party members. So it's just going to be a lot more clear.
That's good.
Because the party chat has gotten a lot better. I mean, at launch, it was a friggin' disaster. Let's not. It was such a step backwards from 360. It was just a head scratcher. But they've really come a long way with it, and they're going to sort of clarify and message a few things better here. Here's the one I really like, though. Tell me if you agree. Microsoft is also including descriptions for achievements in the toast notifications that pop up at the bottom of the screen so that you can see what the achievement, what it is, without having to snap or open the achievements app, like stop your game and open the app. And it's also it's going to load all that stuff faster.
Awesome.
So that's all good. So instead of just 50 gamer score,
the name of the achievement.
Name of the achievement, and then, what was that? I think that was because I beat Ori in the Blind Forest.
Yeah.
It'll actually be, it'll be 50 gamer score, you win, and then switch to the, within the
so
same
it'll do like a flip, you think?
Yeah, it'll flip it and say, you beat Ori in the Blind Forest. So you no longer have to open the app anymore. Which,
that's just a big interface improvement. I hated having to jump out of the experience to just like glance at something. So awesome. Super on board.
Good stuff with that April preview. And now, Mr. Finnegan, it's still March. What can we spend our money on this week?
So you have Borderlands, the Handsome Collection on Xbox One at retail. That's out.
Yeah, we talked about the RC Claptrap, radio-controlled Claptrap, and the Super Collector's sold-out edition at the top of the show.
At digital, we have Game of Thrones Episode 3, which is on both Xbox One and 360 for $5. I'm behind a couple episodes. I've only played the first Game of Thrones episode.
Yeah, I'm all caught up, all three. Is
too good?
It's very much like the show in that right now it's been a slow burn,
right?
Like
or
setting
it's like
up characters. Yeah, a lot of setup, but like the show, it's got a huge potential payoff. Now,
awesome.
The show actually did pay it off huge, or it has each season. Whether the game does is another story, but it's very interesting playing. I played both Tales from the Borderlands Episode 2 and Game of Thrones Episode 3 over the weekend while I was sick, and they are very different in the sort of sense that, like I was saying, Game of Thrones is that slow burn, like the show, with this they're trying to build for some sort of big payoff, whereas Tales from the Borderlands is just like, boom, hits hard and fast right out of the gate with episode 1, and episode 2 is equally great. I am very in love with Tales from the Borderlands, and this is somebody who
not a big Borderlands guy.
Again, I don't have a problem with Borderlands. It's just the shooters have not I've not gotten into the shooters, and that's on me, not on the they're great games, but they just haven't done it for me.
That's the same thing with me. I played a lot of Borderlands 1, never got into Borderlands 2, and I hear that's where it like really began to shine.
Right, but this Telltale series, Tales from the Borderlands, the first 2 episodes are fun. I mean, if it holds the quality of the first 2 through the remaining 3 episodes of the season, then I think it will belong. You'll have to make a case for it as the best season of anything Telltale's ever done.
Oh wow, that's a big statement.
Over
Walking Dead season 1.
Well, that's the standard bearer, certainly, right? And while of course I don't anticipate Tales from the Borderlands having anywhere near the emotional impact that Walking
Overall,
Dead season 1 did, but as far as just start to finish, moment to moment, I mean, it's the art style's great. The narrative structure is great, where it's told from 2 different perspectives that sort of cross over and contradict each other, and there's nice elements of humor in it without being like really schlocky, or like just the jokes are, the writing is solid, the jokes are on point. The characters are super likable.
That's good.
Although I just can't. Vaughn, not to dredge this up again, looks so exactly like me. This
is now the second character that your likeness has been stolen for, right?
The color, not all. It's the face is exact, like the proportions, the big nose, the chin, the facial hair is exact. The hairstyle, the hair color is exact. Even the direction of the part is exact.
Oh my.
Everything, except this guy's got glasses, but he is exactly me. And I just keep going. I play it, and I'm like, I just wish I could have voiced this character.
You do have a great radio voice.
Thank you. Why let me voice the character.
How are your acting skills?
I don't know. No one's ever given me a shot.
Well, let's call up Telltale.
You wanna? Yeah, I'll happy to go into an audition. That's fine. I mean, never mind the massive conflict of interest that would create. But
I mean, who knows if you'd get it? You don't get it. We'll just try it out. We'll just try it on for size. That's all.
Oh man, but Tales from the Borderlands, fantastic.
Cool.
If you haven't played it, for the love of God,
try it out. The craft any better in that? One of my big problems with Game of Thrones was like, I don't know, it's the audio mix wasn't all that good in the first episode that I played. Like, you could very much tell that like
it was recorded in a sound booth.
Yeah, but like it was, exactly. Like, I also don't like that, at least on consoles, like the Telltale games have been a little buggy. Like, and I'm okay with forgiving bugs, but there were definitely a couple times when like I was in the middle of a dialogue with another character, and then like I'd get a freeze up for just like a couple seconds, and then it'd come back to me, and I'd have to respond to a question which I didn't hear, and I was like, well, I don't know how to respond.
I've definitely seen that before. I don't recall that happening to me in either Game of Thrones or Tales, and I'm playing on Xbox One,
right?
As opposed, the problem you're describing, I would see that on 360 with their games occasionally. But yeah, I do agree that the production value on Tales from the Borderlands seems higher to me.
That's good.
And I don't know if it's just because, like we've talked about before, Game of Thrones, you sort of have this idea already of what its production values are supposed to be because of the show, and Borderlands it's easier for them to match the production values of the video game, or it's not as hard or it's not as easy to match the production values of the show with their Telltale Tool engine, which is really old now.
And it's kind of you're kind of starting to see that.
Oh, I've been crying about that for a little while.
Yeah.
But in any case, I do agree with you that there are sort of those off-putting moments in in Telltale's Game of Thrones where it's like, oh yeah, this like, it's very quiet.
Yeah,
it's very quiet, and you can tell like, oh yeah, this was all just recorded in a booth somewhere.
Well, that was the thing, is like there's this one scene in Game of Thrones episode 1, no spoilers, where you're talking with Marjorie. What? Tyrell, that's the last, House Tyrell. And you're in this big stone room, and I'm hearing the audio as clear as if it was coming from this mic on
Yeah.
the podcast, and I'm like, this is not. It
No
just
echo.
like as someone, you forgive these. At least I and most people, I would say, forgive like any lapses in production quality or engine building or any of the technical stuff because the storytelling is so good and
Absolutely.
the characters are so good. But it also is kind of a detriment in that regard because when you're doubling down on the story and the characters and all of that great stuff to immerse you in the world, the last thing you want is just for the sound design to remind
pull
you
you
that
out,
you're playing
yeah.
a video game. But
Yeah.
I'm harping on it a little bit more than I'd like to because I did like it a lot. But I mean, I kind of wish that there was a new engine or something a little bit
I
better
totally
for
am
them
with
to
you
work
on
with.
that. Take some of that HBO money.
Exactly. Just be like, yo, help us co-fund this. Moving on, though, still in the digital space here, Ziggurat for Xbox One is $15.
Whatever that is.
Oh, I was going to be like, hopefully you can tell me what that is, because I don't know. And Oddworld, new and tasty, is out on Friday.
Good
on
to
Xbox
see
One for
Oddworld
$20.
back. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. That's something
Lauren
we haven't
Lanning.
seen in a while.
Oddworld, Abe Munch's Odyssey was a launch title for the original Xbox,
Wow.
2001.
Was that the last time we saw it?
No, I think there was one since then, but it has been a long time.
Even still, yeah. Moving on over to the marketplace, we have Dragon Age Jaws of Hakan DLC. Hakan. I'm just gonna say Hakan.
I'm going
For
with that. I'm
$15.
with that.
Yeah. And games with gold for March, you have Rayman Legends for Xbox One, BioShock Infinite, which are the last 2 weeks of March 16th to the 28th. So running out of time.
Any guesses as to what April's games with gold will be? Want to take a quick shot?
Oh man, I have no idea. Why, do you have
give
one?
me something. No, I was just I was gonna stall. I was gonna think while you said something. But,
Oh well, gosh,
let's
now
see.
I have to
I mean,
stall. What could it be? That's the thing is like the games that Microsoft have chosen so far have always blindsided me. I've always been like, oh, that's interesting.
Have they done Alan Wake yet for 360 as one of the as one of the free ones? I don't think it's been one of the games with gold yet.
I feel like I remember seeing American Nightmare on there, but I'm not sure.
I'm gonna go with Alan Wake. That's my guess for
That would be
360.
really cool.
For Xbox One, well, boy.
Yeah.
How about all right for Xbox One? I'm gonna say it's gonna be what was that game I liked that came out at Christmas from Press Play with the kid and his brother?
Yep. Not ringing a bell for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up. Hold
Go
on.
for it. Yeah. That I'm so poor when it comes to predicting things like this because so far every single one of the releases has been like, oh, I wouldn't have ever been able to have guessed that. Alan Wake would be awesome for Xbox 360 because Alan Wake is an awesome game. If you haven't played that game, go check it out. Also, that'd be kind of smart with, just kind of ramping up people's hype for Quantum Break, even though that's still kind of far off. They want to keep that on people's maps. For Xbox One, I don't know. Forza, the first one.
5?
5. Have we seen that yet?
No, but I don't know. I think they're probably still going to try and make money off of that.
But they have Forza Horizon 2 now, so it's like maybe they'd want to be promoting that as something you should pay, full price for or retail for. I don't know. What else is there? You're going to have to...
If I could just find the name of this. Hold on. Oh, I've almost got
He's
it.
almost tracking it down.
Where is...
Yeah, it would be really... I'm bad with these predictions. You can let us know in the comments below what you think it'll be, though, right? That's a good way to get involved. We'd love to see what you audience members can come up with.
I'm just trying to remember. What the hell was it was a platformer. It was a super cutesy, like, Pixar graphics-looking platformer from Christmas the first year of the console, 2013. It came out, like, on Christmas Eve as a download.
Anything else that you can offer in terms of...
It was sort of deceptively difficult because it looked very cute and kitty, but it totally wasn't. And I liked it, but it had its good share of flaws.
It's an Xbox One game?
Yes. It did come out on 360 as well later. What?
Yeah, no bells rung for me there.
All right, here. I got a better way to search for this because I remember the developer. Press play.
That's what I was going to say is like, just look at their game library, their gameography. Is that a word? Like filmography? I'm going to make it one. A developer's
Yeah, why not?
gameography. You heard it here first. Patented Sean Finnegan, IGN. I haven't had a chance to really. I haven't really gotten into. I mean, I'll download games.
Max Curse of the Brotherhood. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
That's my
never
prediction.
would have guessed
so
that.
I'm going to go with Alan Wake on 360 and Max Curse of the Brotherhood on Xbox One.
Awesome.
That was a complete waste of everyone's time.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, how many people you think found it way faster than we did in the time that it took us to do that?
Or just tuned out because they were bored.
Yep. Sorry
All
for
right.
that.
Well, good stuff.
Yeah. So those are the predictions. And then Forza Horizon 2 and Evolve are both 20% off this week.
Yeah, on the Xbox Store. That's it's like $12. So
Not bad at all.
$48 for Forza Horizon 2. Can't recommend that game enough. And Evolve for $48 is not bad either. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my friend, let's come right back. We'll do a little trivia and get on out of here. Show's running nice and long this week.
All right.
I'm due somewhere, and they're going to be mad at me. All right, my friend, you have with Mitch unavailable, Marty out sick, Destin is traveling.
Yep. Max left.
Yeah, you've got the
Gnomes
lone
is MIA.
chance to gain some ground on everybody in the Dookie Challenge.
Oh, you're not just going to award me the point by default?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay.
So our trivia question this week comes from Ruben Delgado. He's from Portugal. He's already won himself a download code for the Final Fantasy 15 playable demo, courtesy of a super generous fellow listener. So thanks to the audience for supplying an awesome prize that Ruben was very psyched to get his hands on. And Ruben's question was this: which of these games was not published by Microsoft's game studios for the original Xbox? So not necessarily developed, but Microsoft published themselves 3 of these games. Which one did they not publish? Was it Dead or Alive 3, Jade Empire, Counter-Strike, or Shenmue 2?
This is a tough one.
I believe in you, Sean. You have a chance to tie Destin for the lead for the year. I'm gonna add on here.
And I really want to do that because it would just be so ironic if the person with the least knowledge ends up winning this thing. Okay. I definitely remember.
I actually
Counter-Strike
did know
being...
this one.
Oh, you did?
I remembered
wow.
this one. So let's see if you're able to remember as well.
I'm torn because I think it's either Dead or Alive 3 or Shenmue 2, just because I can't imagine Microsoft publishing what are Japanese developed games. I would figure that they would have partnered with someone else for that. So I'm going to go ahead and say between those two, I'm going to say Dead or Alive 3.
You have chosen Dead or Alive 3.
Oh God. I don't like your tone.
You had a
There's
chance.
the
You
side.
had a chance to
messed
catch
it
up.
huh?
And you did!
Wait,
yes!
I did?
Yes!
Oh my.
Dead or Alive 3, published by Tecmo.
What a twist.
So, Jade Empire developed by BioWare, but published by Microsoft. It was an Xbox exclusive. Counter-Strike, Valve.
Yep.
But the Xbox version published by Microsoft.
Remember, because I played
Shenmue
that.
2, Sega's game, but Microsoft published it on the original Xbox. You are correct, sir. You have won.
Can't believe I got that, actually.
Good job. Be a little more, I know you're being humble.
Oh, I mean, I was 100% sure that I knew that the whole time.
All right. If you would like to join, or if you would like to try to test us, see if you can break Sean Finnegan, the Shark's will to live with trivia.
Test my infinite knowledge.
And if you want to win what is hopefully a video game, an Xbox game, we'll see how many codes we have around. Send your Xbox-related trivia question along with 4 multiple-choice answers. Please note the correct one to unlocked@ign.com, and we will play again next week. We got to get ourselves out of here, Sean.
Yeah, we've been running long.
Plugs
which
shouldn't
I don't
take
mind.
long. Yeah, I don't mind either. I'd rather do this than work.
Mm-hmm.
Hope my bosses aren't listening.
Yep.
They are, actually.
This is work.
It is. That's absolutely.
Yeah.
It's IGN. It's community building.
Yes.
Right. I'm very fortunate. We hear from people all the time. They're like, "Love the podcast. It kills my long. I'm a truck driver, or I'm my time at the gym or my long commute time, whatever
anytime
it is.
Anytime I see a tweet pop up from someone who listened to the episode, I'm super stoked. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So real quick before I turn to you for your own plug, Sean, I'll just mention IGN Prime. I hope you have subscribed already, or at least considered if you have not already. The website is ign.com/prime. The reasons to subscribe, the benefit for us, it's $30 a year. That helps keep us employed, helps keep the lights on here, helps keep the podcast going. But what you get is totally worth that $30. I think just the not having ads before your videos on IGN is worth it alone. But you do also get occasional beta access to certain games, both console and PC. And we often have every month or two, we have a free game that's usually either a mobile or a PC title. But it's been good stuff. I mean, I think, wasn't Hitman Go one of them?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like we've had some legit cool games.
And we had, like back in the day, Destiny keys were part of
Destiny beta keys, yes. So IGN.com/prime, $30 for a 1-year subscription. Hope you'll consider that. Mr. Finnegan, take it away.
Follow me on Twitter. I'm Finnegan. Also on Instagram. I don't know if you guys know this, but I am a director of photography, so I do a lot of photography
a
and
DP,
videos.
son.
Yes, this is what is called a cinematographer. And if you're interested in that stuff, come take a look. I'm always posting it on Twitter and on my Instagram, and it's at I'm Finnegan there as well. And then stay tuned to IGN next week because I will have a really awesome video going up very soon that I've been working hard on.
You'll know it when you see it.
Yes, and then I also did a rewind theater of Mission Impossible 5's trailer, which is called Rogue Nation with Darren Brazil. And that's a really cool trailer, and I just got to like nerd out about it for a long time with Darren. So check that out. That should be live too.
Excellent.
Did you see that trailer?
I did see it.
Really cool, right?
Honestly, it didn't.
Oh, come on.
It was fine. Like, I thought it was fine. It didn't blow me away, but
Are you an MI guy?
I like them fine. I guess, yeah, they just don't move the needle for me either positively or negatively. I've enjoyed watching. I don't think I've seen the last one, but I saw the first couple.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so I mean, it kind of lost its legs there, in 3 or maybe even 2. But for me, Mission Impossible is one of those series that it's like I never care about it until it comes out, and then I go see it, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, why don't I care about this? They're just fun. They're cool thriller movies, and truth be told, like. No one does action flicks like Tom Cruise. Seriously,
That's true.
That dude is an action superstar.
That is a fact.
Super cool.
Absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at DMC_Ryan. I'm going to be on vacation starting next week, but we're going to record the show early before I leave.
Awesome.
And then I think, because I'm gone Wednesday to Wednesday, so I think what we're going to try and do, we're going to record a little early next week on Tuesday, and then maybe record late after I get back.
Sounds good to me.
I mean, if you guys want to do a show while I'm gone, you could, but if we just maybe kick it to Thursday, then
I don't think you'll find any reluctance
should
there.
Work. Hopefully nobody will mind too much if the show's a day late that following week there, but there's lots going on. What am I up to right now? I haven't reviewed anything.
I was going to say, like, what can you talk about?
I know, it's just, I'm in...
We're always up to something.
Well, it's that time of year, because believe it or not, E3 is already being discussed around here.
Yep.
There's just a lot of planning going on. I guess I will say this. Come back on Monday to IGN, if not sooner. IGN First for April will kick off.
Awesome.
And I am very excited to reveal what that's going to be. I think it's a game that everyone listening and watching this show is very interested in.
Yeah, and if you aren't aware of IGN First, then you've been living under a rock if you're on IGN, because they've all been... Every month so far has offered something unique and cool and different, and this month it's been even more varied because it's multiple games.
Yeah, all the indie games.
Yeah, it's been super cool.
Yeah, we've been doing our best. But yeah, Monday is the kickoff for April's IGN First. I hope you'll check that out. Follow me on Twitter. Tell me if you like it. If you don't, whatever you want to say. I like the one thing. Twitter can be really bad, but the nice thing is the people that follow me are all like super nice people because they are obviously interested in me in some capacity. So I like engaging with the followers on Twitter. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean,
it's fun to interact with nice people.
It's also just better because it's a more focused audience. Like you're not just randomly having run-in encounters with angry commenters who are angry for totally different reasons.
It is funny.
Just want to assault you.
Like 9 out of 10 times somebody says something trollish or horrible to me on Twitter. I'll click on them And I'll be like, I'll bet this person doesn't even follow me. Sure enough.
Yep.
Nope. And I call those drive-by tweets.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
That's basically what they are. All right. Anyway, I'm Brian McCaffrey. That's Sean Finnegan. I want to thank Max Scoville as well for his time to talk Metal Gear. So much to discuss on this week's show. I'm glad what do we got? Holy hell.
Yeah, it's a fat one.
Hour and 20-plus minute show this week. So hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back. Yeah, we'll be back for 189 next week. I'm hoping to try and get some news on Unlock 200 that I can share soon.
Totally.
There's a lot of gears in motion for that, and no, that wasn't like some sort of veiled Gears of War reference. Just an old expression. Like, what? Podcast Unlocked is revealing Gears of War 4 at their episode 200.
You heard it here first.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Anyway, should stop now before I just ruin everything.
You're just digging the hole even deeper.
I know. That's what I do. That's what they pay me for.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all very much. Most of you listen to the show on iTunes, but now remember it's also on the IGN Xbox One app. If you want to watch us on video or just leave it on in the background while you're doing other things in the room, check it out. Good times. Sean, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll see you all again next week.
Goodbye.